Hello YouTube, these are the steps that I've taken in order to remove the AC compressor and power steering pump on a TOUAREG V10. As you can see the AC compressor, but behind the AC compressor is the power steering pump, which is actually my real problem. I have no power steering at all, pump is whining horribly. Step one obviously is to remove the complete front of the car, radiator bumper. These steps can easily be found on YouTube, many videos on this topic. In order to get to the AC compressor and the power steering pump, you're going to somehow have to remove the engine mount. In order to do that, I've propped up a little bracket on the side of the bottom of the motor. There are two on each side. So I've just basically used this connection on this side, made myself a little bracket coming out, and I've got a jack that will basically help me lift up the motor in order to get out the engine mount. In order to give me a little bit more space, I've also removed the airbox on the same side as compressor. By removing the airbox, you get a lot more access. In reality, you could actually possibly remove the AC compressor, if your problem is AC compressor only, without actually getting to the power steering pump, by simply just removing the airbox. In order to remove your engine mount and engine bracket, you need to remove your intercooler tube. And your intercooler tube is connected to your turbo. I'm not sure if you can actually see the bolts. There we go, there. You need to remove those two bolts. There's one on the top, one on the bottom of the pipe. It's a 5 hex long extension. You can get to the top one very easily. However, you need to put the 5 hex on the bottom of the tube with your extension and get that out. Once you get that out, you can be able to get your intercooler tube out. In order to have easier access to the bolts for the intercooler pipe on the turbo, it is best to jack up the motor a little in order to loosen your engine mount. So by loosening your engine mount and simply lifting up the motor, you have a better access to the actual intercooler bolts. If, like me, you battle to get to the intercooler bolts on the back of the turbo, then in order to create more space, you'll need to basically remove the engine mount. So what I've done is I've jacked up the motor on the one side as much as it possibly can go, because getting a bit of a touching on that side. Right, and then there's a little secret in actually removing the actual engine mount, even though I've lifted it as much as I can. Let me get this out of the way here. Even though I've lifted it as much as I can, top bolt is out. This is how it normally sits. Quick and easy way to get it out is drop it, turn it, then it will connect on the right hand side. You lift it a bit to the left, turn it, then you'll actually see that the center pin is coming towards you. Once it's coming towards you, you lean it, turn it some more, right, lean it forward, it comes out. Once it comes out, you simply pull him out. Well, not simply, but okay. There we go. Engine mount is out. Of course, with the engine mount out, now you can go through where the engine mount was, and you'll have better access in removing, one, the top one, and two, the bottom one. The bottom one you'll have to do completely blind, as you cannot see it. With the engine mount out, you'll end up with a scenario similar to this one: extension cord, and you can get to the bottom bolt. Once you got the bolts off the back of the intercooler tube onto the turbo, you then just have to wiggle it. It pops out of the turbo, and there is a bolt here that holds the tube as well. And basically you have to perform some wiggle in order to get the tube out. So basically you get the intercooler tube out. There's the top one and there's the bottom one, which is quite a difficult one to get to. Okay, once you've got your intercooler tube out, you now have access to the compressor. Pretty simple. Yeah, there's bolt 1, bolt 2, bolt 3, so 3 bolts on the compressor, one in the very front, one on the bottom next to an engine mount, and another one at the top. However, unloosening the 3 bolts will not get the compressor out, because the compressor's actually got its clutch inside the engine bracket. So in order to do that, you would have to unloosen the engine bracket. In order to unloosen the engine bracket, I don't know if you can see here, there's a positive cable which has a bracket, and that bracket is held by two bolts onto the engine bracket. So I would suggest to try and get that off first. Pretty easy. Lots of work to get it out, but not too bad. Okay, once you've loosened the engine mount, you'll be able to see that I've got about a 3 centimeter travel here now, or more. Okay, once you've done that using a weird extension setup, in theory you will now have a bit of a gap in order to pull the compressor out. The compressor won't come out immediately because of its, I think it's the clutch, and that clutch is sitting behind the engine mount here, and it will not come out, so you need to unloosen it a bit in order for the compressor to come out. Once you have the compressor bolt out and the engine mount out by about 2 or 3 centimeters, it simply comes loose, and then you just have to wangle it past the clutch part. Voila! So then you get it out. So the reason why it won't come out is because this clutch section will hook on the inside of the engine mount, so you need to give it at least a centimeter to get the compressor out. And then once you've done that, you should be able to see your power steering pump right at the back. Okay, once all that is done, you should have a engine bracket, 4 bolts, engine mount, 2 bolts and a nut. You should have the cable and connections bracket with 2 bolts, 3 bolts for the AC compressor, and 2 bolts, the difficult ones, for the actual your intercooler tube.